Welcome back to Timbersite. What's up, dude?
It's been great.
It's been a little longer. We've been, a little longer between episodes this time. So I'm sure all you guys just been sitting by your device, just waiting.
Just waiting anxiously.
Yeah, I've been on vacation. Did you go to Puerto Rico?
Oh, no. That was definitely just
a joke.
Just a joke. Nope.
Okay.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, how's it been?
It's good. Tons of rain.
Yeah.
Lots of rain. Really weird summer.
It is.
80s, 90s here, when it's typically we're hitting day 52 of over 100-degree weather.
You're a grass guy.
Yeah.
I haven't driven by your house. I'm assuming your lawn is popping.
Dude, it is. I call it super juice because I have well water and, my yard's always green and cut. But rain is just, it's on steroids right now. So I mowed last night. I have a section in my back that's weeds. And just with 1 week, it's like overwhelming.
Yeah, I'll send you a video of my lot, dude.
Yeah, a little jungle.
Insane. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. The greenest, most lush. And for those of you who are listening, like, we live in a desert, essentially, on the edge of a desert. And no, I couldn't be more happy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously a lot of rain. There's been a lot of devastation with the rain in Texas. But yeah, still thankful for the water. So anyways, what's been going on?
Man, I actually have a cool story from this Monday. So we went down to my coworker, our buddy, Corey, his ranch in London, Texas, kind of near Junction, cool. Menardish. And they were another area that was super affected by the rain. And, I mean, to the point where they have a dry creek in there. And Corey kind of did the math from Google Earth. And typically dry. We calculated around 1,000 foot wide was this river that ran through there, by anywhere from 10 to 25 feet deep, and just
the London place.
Yeah, just demolished trees, and I mean he had a trailer in a tree, multiple vehicles pushed, just like super devastating, like you said about whole Kerrville area, the hill country. Praying for all those families. It's tragic. When we were there, we were just kind of assessing damage. But also he's been baiting some hogs, so feeding hogs. And if you're listening and you're not familiar with wild hogs here in West Texas, they're a problem. They damage crops. They tear fences down. They're not a good thing. So and they're spreading so rapidly. Like, you gotta control them and eliminate them. So he had been baiting them. We've been watching them on the camera. So we get there and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna turn it on in like 2 hours." So we're across the property, and he gets his alert, which is a cheat code. Yeah. We're over there messing, across the river, and he's like, "Oh, there's some hogs." And so we all brought our ARs, and so we stopped what we were doing, started driving over there, and then it's on the edge of a field. I guess they call it hay grazer. Mm-hmm. It almost looks like corn. Yeah. Real tall and thick, and so as we're walking down this road, I want to say around 50, 60 yards, you finally get to a point where you can see the hogs. And it's lightly raining. It's overcast. And my buddy couldn't get his AR. It just kept jamming. So I was the only one going to shoot. And it felt so cool. So I'm like stalking them,
Yes.
Real slow, raining. They can't hear me.
Something from a movie.
Yeah, it was real cool. I haven't shot a hog since I was in high school, so 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, I see two. Boom. I dropped two at once.
Really?
Yeah. And then I turned the corner, and apparently there was a third, but I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And so the second one that got hit, it struggled a little bit, so I finished. But it was exciting, man. It was like out of a movie. And then Brody, he's like, "Dude, you look so cool. You had the pose." And but no, it was fun. Just kind of country stuff. You know, we do that here in West Texas.
That's fun. You eliminated two, and then there were probably 10 born that same day.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And then we tried for more later, but they're not dumb. Yeah. They heard us driving around all day. They heard a big boom, know, so.
Yeah, they're smart.
Yeah, but cool. So that was some fun this week. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, spent some time in New Mexico on vacation over the 4th, so that was great. We actually missed all of the really heavy rain.
Yeah, what area though?
Red River,
Oh yeah,
up there, and
that's cool.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So glad to be back and just kind of back in the groove of things. So glad to be back on the pod.
Yeah, for sure.
Get to see you today, man. We've got a great episode. Man, we have Matt Garcia with us. He is a floor contractor, owner operator of a company. Really great guy. We have some cool news that we're going to announce in the podcast with Matt, and really, if you're listening now and you are a business owner or a manager, you need to listen really to the end of that interview, because there's a lot of value in this one. I'd say valuable. More than any of our other podcasts.
Yeah.
Just about how to run your business, and a really unique way that you can implement. And so take a listen to that. We're excited about it. But yeah, before we dive into that interview, I just want to remind you guys that this industry bro, like all the other industry bros, it is brought to you and powered by Timbersite. Timbersite is a construction management software. It's a platform that can help you run your business efficiently and streamline a lot of your processes, like estimating and scheduling, selections, handles all of your time tracking for your field workers. So really, really great. We're doing this podcast so that we can provide value for you as a business owner, as a manager, and hopefully connect you into Timbersite. So if Timbersite's something you want to find more information about, you can find all the links in our show notes or the description to go to our website. Hit me up. I'll be the one that get to have a conversation with you about it. And man, it's helping businesses. It's helping people, run their business smoothly, hopefully get off of spreadsheets, get off of just running your business on paper.
Yeah.
A lot of people are still just running their business on paper, and there's a better way, and it's not that much work to implement. So we want to help you guys do that. But we will get into the interview, and then we'll see you guys after.
Awesome.
Matt, it's great to have you. We are super excited to have you along for the ride today. I'm excited to hear your story. So we have with us today Matt Garcia. He's the owner-operator of Craftsman Hardwood Flooring. He's also a board member of the National Wood Flooring Association, writes for different publications, been on other podcasts. Truly an industry bro, if there is one. I feel that's really cliche, but I feel like, like you're in the industry, specifically the wood flooring industry, but also the construction industry. And what's really cool is you're doing tangible things to try to make it a better place to be, a better place where people are more educated, and ultimately more successful. So we've already been talking a lot just about what you got going, but we want to hear your story and just kind of your path into the industry, what that looks like, and then, hear a lot about your business, how you're running things. So, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm third generation flooring professional. My grandfather did it and taught my dad, and my dad taught me, and most all my family's in it as well. So I started, as a kid growing up, helping my dad in the summertime, and I was homeschooled, so just randomly sometimes my dad goes, hey, I actually grew up in California. So start there.
Yeah, there you go.
But, that's where I started my career in the family business, and we would work on the coast sometimes, and I like to fish, and so my dad would say, hey, why don't you come work with me, and you can help me out a little bit, and we're right next to the pier on the ocean, so you can just go fish and help me and whatever you want to do.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
I loved it, and so I'd basically just, kind of fish until I got bored and then go help dad a bit, and he was, just kind of making it fun for me, and I was pretty young. As I got older, I got more serious into it, but sometimes I would say, hey, Dad, where are you working? Are you working on the beach?
Right.
Just to fish and things like that, and I thought that was always pretty neat. Like my dad, even real young, sometimes I would go, or he'd ask me if I want to go, and I'd go, I don't really want to wake up early or this or that, but I knew that he would always stop and get a donut. On the way.
It's crazy what my kids will do for a donut.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
I'll go help lay some wood floors for a donut. I mean, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had this one place on the coast. We lived in a tourist area, so we had access to just really great food and everything. And they had a cinnamon roll place. And so if I caught wind that my dad was going to be working in Pismo Beach in California, I'm going, oh, wow, there's like a really high chance. I might get an upgrade from a donut, get a cinnamon roll. Homemade, all the toppings you want. It is a pretty awesome place.
Cool.
Well, and what's cool about that is just like your dad doing it in a fun way, but instilling work ethic at a young age, you know? I feel like it's kind of rare nowadays, just good quality work ethic. So I've actually been thinking about doing kind of some small side gigs myself, so that I can bring my kids along and teach them, you know, that work ethic and not just expecting a handout, you know? So that's really cool to hear, you know, your dad cared about you and loved you, and that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. You sounded super old. You're like, kids these days and their work ethic.
Well, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I am the guy to get off my lawn. I'm that guy.
So third generation. So how did you get started in the industry? Once your dad he trained you, obviously, and you just kind of kept going.
Yeah, you know, the trades, I feel like there's a renaissance with the trades right now. They're just, you know, AI is disrupting technology and a lot of things that people are telling people to go to school for. And, but the trades are, you know, really solid. And there's a lot more value for skilled trades nowadays. I think kind of just a perspective in the construction industry was that it's labor. And what we found is labor can be really expensive if it's not skilled.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot more value for skilled labor. And that kind of goes back to where I started. I'd be working with my dad, and the customer would say, oh, you know, you're going to go to college, you know, kind of like tell me, almost saying like looking down on what I was doing as, oh, like this isn't your, you know, your end game, is it? And I actually graduated at 16. Doing homeschool, you can really, you know, blast through. And they have an early exit exam in California. I took it, passed easily. And so my mom said, hey, I want you to stay in school until you're 18. So I signed up with the community college and thought, well, you know, I'll give it 2 years. I'll get, you know, associate's degree. I'll be 18 at that point, you know, and figure it out. Well, when I was about 17 and a half, I really wanted to work. So I was going to school full time and working full time.
Yeah.
I was a 16-year-old, got about 17 and a half and just kind of got burnt out. And I thought, I got to do one or the other. You know, this was fine while I had the energy and the motivation, but it gets old. Yeah. And so I just went all in on flooring. I wanted to be a business owner. I like working with things, building things. And I thought it fit the bill. And what I was going to go to school for required a lot of schooling and then not very much reward for it. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to be like a game warden, kind of maybe get into like biology and stuff like that. And I talked to some people that were in that field, and I didn't really like what it took after you did all that schooling. Right. Sure. And I go, you know what? I really love this too. So let's just go for it. And so I really haven't looked back. And today I love it more than ever. I really do love it. I don't love every single day and every, you know, thing that pops up that I have to deal with. Mm-hmm. But overall, I really do love it, and I have a passion for it. That's cool.
That's cool. So when did you start your first company? Did you start a company in California?
Really family business more so. Right. The way it worked out, in California you have to have a contractor's license to do flooring. And so we primarily all had our own licenses, but we would team up to do things. So we're kind of independent contractors, mm-hmm. but also worked as a unit. If we had a big project, or, you know, we knew there's a customer that we had mutual connections to, sometimes we just team up. Yeah. And so it's kind of like we were, you know, independent, but yet working in the family business at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. So then from California, what brought you to Texas?
My wife.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we lived in California for about 5 years, and then had a couple of kids, and we had an opportunity. You've seen our place out there. Mm. My in-laws bought a place on the South Concho River, and it was on 60 acres, and there was a house there that nobody's living in, and we came and visited, and of course they want to move us out there, so they're saying, hey, you know, there's this house, you know, you can stay, you know, if you can, you know, establish yourself here.
Yeah.
You know, and we ended up buying the house from them, and I thought that there's a real opportunity to do wood flooring specifically in San Angelo, because everybody that I talked to said, oh yeah, you know, there used to be people that would sand floors and do this and that, and they're not around anymore. They've either retired or passed away, or moved. And so I thought it would be a great opportunity to move here and start the business, and a great place to raise the kids. And that's the story. You know, I guess we've been here for probably over 12 years now, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's great. No, I remember, I mean, for sure, there was a huge void. There were like a few people that did it, or people that were trying to do it, you know, and maybe not doing it quite at the level that like some people were really looking for, or you just have to hire someone from like, you know, east of here, Dallas, Austin, or something like that. So no, I think you've really filled a void just in West Texas in general.
Oh, for sure. And Matt, I'll be honest, when we see a new job and it's wood flooring related, like I brag on you so much, like
That's great.
because you guys are awesome. Y'all do like next level work, you know, even small scale, like you guys were at my house, and in the middle of the sanding process with all your equipment, like you could walk in there and breathe, you know, there was no dust in the air, and my kids are in the back half of the house just doing life, you know. You wouldn't even know that we're refinishing all the wood floors. So anyways, I say it all the time, you are our best subcontractor. And I tell people, not just here locally, like around, like find me another person. I'd love to see their work, but your quality's awesome.
I appreciate that. You know, I actually looked at I believe it's your sister-in-law's house.
Yes, right down the road. Yep. Yeah.
So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, it was a neat. And she said that she popped in and saw the process, and she goes, "Oh, you know, Dustin, you know, had great things to say about y'all."
Yeah, right down the road. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you can help her out.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it looks like a good project.
Cool. Well, I really want to get into just like your company. You know, maybe even, you know, you started it here in San Angelo. You know, whatever. 12 years ago, I guess you said. Yeah. And like, how did you start your company? What was its kind of structure then? What are lessons learned? How has it morphed and changed to what it is now? And some big key takeaways that, like, if let's say you're talking to someone, because hopefully, you know, I think there's probably people listening that are maybe young business owners, maybe somewhere that you were at, you know, 15, 20 years ago, 12 years ago, and what are lessons learned? So just tell us a little bit about your company. How's it structured? And
yeah, definitely. Moving here was definitely a bit of a shock. You know, I grew up surfing in California on the beach and things like that, and it's different here, you know, culturally. Yeah. And I mean, it's home now. I love it, but it was tough because not only is it a different place, you know, different culture, different scenery. You know, I wasn't used to all that, but I went from having an awesome reputation. My family had an awesome reputation in California. My dad taught me that work ethic, and I didn't have to prove myself that much. I was brought up in it, and people knew what we did, and I didn't have to, you know, sell my value. Yeah. When I came here, I can't ride off the family's coattails. I couldn't. Right. I had to start everything from scratch. You know, I always came with a recommendation. You know what I mean? And had none of that. Yeah. And that's scary. Yeah. And it was a real gut punch to your, you know, your personal worth. Yeah. You know, just going, wow, they don't necessarily believe me. Right. Yeah. That, you know, I would talk to some flooring companies around, and one of them just wouldn't give me the time of day, and I thought we would be a great fit. And a couple years later, he's begging for me to work with, with him and everything. And I was already just, kind of set up to just, do my own independent thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, at that point I said, well, I've already proven myself to my customer base. I don't want to necessarily work for a flooring store. We're basically are one now. Mm-hmm. And so, I went that path, but it was a very humbling experience, starting from scratch.
Yeah.
But, I basically, went from having lots of support in California to chucking a truck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just out there, grit, grit and integrity. And, I'm a believer, and I know you guys are, and just trusting God in the process and everything, and taking that leap of faith, and just knowing that, that's where the Lord was directing me.
Yeah.
And it's really blessed me. This is home. I really love it. I love the people here. I love working with North Star, with Dustin and Garrett. You guys are some of the first ones that, I did business with.
Yeah.
When I was really, out there pounding the sand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I really appreciate, you guys believed in us, and, it's awesome, working with y'all, and, and so that was a big part of my story, kind of, phase one was in California, and helping build up the family business, and then just starting over from doing every single thing myself to, now we have a team, showroom, warehouse, and, and it's really, we're poised to grow. We have a lot of people, we want to expand different services and different things, kind of out of necessity. But, I really want to build the business up. I feel like we've done a lot structure-wise and culture, and learning how to build teams. Because, that's one thing being in the family business and then working by myself, you don't really have to worry about team building. And that is a whole different animal, and I think people need to decide, kind of what kind of business they want to build. Do you want to do everything yourself, or do you want a team? Because it is a different mindset building teams, especially in the construction industry. I feel like the standards are higher than ever in the construction industry, and people expect you to perform, and you got to build a team.
Yeah.
You really, or else you will put out fires, just constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially if you want to operate with integrity, you have to have the people behind you, and you're all, working for the same goal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that. Like, how did you first start hiring people? What was that process like? And what are things you've learned to like really hone in that process of building a good team and leading a good team?
I would say my biggest struggle, especially at first, was even finding people.
Yeah.
That I felt like I could trust, that were reliable, that we're working in people's houses, and so I need somebody that can walk into somebody's home and make the client feel comfortable and feel like I can trust this person.
Yeah.
And that having courtesy and respecting their home. You can't just find anybody to go, to do that.
There's a lot that goes into it, delicate situation. So even kind of on the management side, when Garrett and I were running jobs, you just, especially with subs, because they're not, employees in-house that we know and trust fully. With certain subs, if we're testing the waters, it's like, you got to be careful, You're in someone's home, and if it's stay-at-home mom and she's there and you're doing a kitchen remodel, it's just you want your guys to do the right thing and with integrity. So it's a tricky situation, especially starting with nobody and you're having to go and get these new employees.
Well, and it's not like the talent pool in our area is just like huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's just fewer people, but there's still good people. They're out there. So cool. So you started to kind of build a team, found some people, and what was that process like? Where are you at today? Kind of how'd you get from where you started to where you are today, and like What was that process like?
Yeah, I didn't know much about team building when I first started building teams.
Yeah.
And I learned real quickly I should probably listen to podcasts and read books and educate myself and hear how different people are doing it, and, you know, use that for motivation to, you know, I didn't have all my ducks in the order, you know, and I really wanted the team that I probably didn't deserve at the time. You know what I mean? Because quality people want to see a future. You know, they don't want to they don't want to be hired on a hope and a dream. You know what I mean? They want to see a tangible, you know, future if they come on with you. And so I started realizing, you know, I can't just do this. I can't just bootstrap this, you know, 100%. I need to invest into, you know, showing them how, you know, what they can achieve working with my company, you know, and really just the basics of, you know, your mission statement, you know, and establishing that, and then, you know, hiring off of that, and, you know, having clear roles, you know, having a development plan, having training in place, so that they can catch the vision for it. And so that's not something that just happens overnight, because really it's, you know, if the leadership can absorb that, and back then I was the leadership team. But, you know, once I started investing in myself and learning how to, you know, articulate that to my team, the more buy-in I got back from them. You know, and and then I started, you know, retaining people better. I started getting, you know, better quality talent. I got more motivation out of them. And so, you know, you start off horrible, right? You know, you don't know what you're doing, and you're basically doing it the hard way. You know, you can still operate with integrity and do good work that way. I always did. But, you know, I was having to always be the one that stayed late and to make sure everything was right all the time. And you start realizing, wow, you know, if I have a team and I train them well, we don't have to redo things, you know, and we just, you're always going to have problems, you know, you're always going to have things that you have to deal with, but you start realizing that you can, your team can help you achieve all that. So you don't have to work till 10 o'clock at night to do the right thing and operate out of integrity. It's just a better way of going about it. And it, like I said, it doesn't happen overnight, but it's something that, I mean, I would choose investing into myself and into my team rather than put out fires any day of the week.
For sure. It's like you're spending time and energy doing something. So here's what I'm thinking as you're saying this. Like, I think that there's not a really good culture just in the industry in general. And I know there is in some places, but I think most like owners, they don't probably feel like they have the time or energy to educate themselves to try to do some of the things that you're saying. So like, I guess I want to hear from your mouth, like, what do you feel like is valuable? What could be the next steps for somebody who's like feeling like, okay, I've got a team that's like in chaos. I'm always having to put out fires. There's this level of, typically people just live in a vacuum and they're just like, I'm going to just put my head down and try to get as much work as I can done. And maybe if I have a weekend off, great. And they don't ever think about, there's someone else out there that could probably teach me something to help me run my company better. Right. And I've been there before too, thinking, is it really valuable to like go be a part of this association, or go to this training, or go to this conference to like meet other people in the industry and like network and do things like that? Those are kind of foreign concepts to a lot of people in the industry, I think, because they're just like,
I don't need that.
It's a different world. But I want to hear from you, because you are a more connected contractor, where you're like at a national level. You're a part of associations. You're doing trainings. You're getting your guys trained in certain aspects of things, and like talk about how doing those things and actually kind of pushing past this like vacuum that maybe it's a temptation to just think about yourself and only the things that you can control, and go and spend time and money training yourself and training your team. And like, how has that benefited you guys? And
that's a huge point, because I feel like I mean, for decades, you know, I've been in this since I was 17, and you know, 43 now. And so, you know, I felt like I was in a vacuum, and I thought we did everything the best because we did have high standards, and my father worked with integrity and things like that, and so I thought that we were just crushing it until I really wanted to start growing and not having just all the resources of the family business and everything, and I had to learn to do that on my own in a place that I was new to, and that's when I joined the National Wood Flooring Association and talked to people that had much larger companies than me.
Yeah.
And, it really blew my mind how many things that we were doing that wasn't the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until I got out of my own experience and got connected with, other people. And, I started joining mastermind groups, and, you got a company that's, on the West Coast, another one on the East Coast. And then you start seeing, wow, there's regional differences, and some of them have solved one problem really well, and another one solved a different problem really well. And you start realizing, wow, I actually don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
If I can, I see, wow, I'm facing that same problem. They solved it this way. Maybe they didn't have the answer for everything, but I might talk to another person and they've solved a problem a certain way.
Yeah.
And you start getting that feedback, and then I really started listening to more podcasts and things. And one person I started following was Tommy Mello.
Okay.
He's got a home service millionaire podcast, and big on home service. And he's growing. His goal is to build a very high level company. I think he wants to build $1 billion company. I think he's over 100 million now.
Wow.
Just from him in a truck.
Man.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
But, he's big on culture, big on training, and he's in the garage door industry. And he went and learned from plumbing, electrical, and HVAC because their business models were much farther ahead than garage doors. He couldn't find what he wanted in garage doors. So he went outside of his industry.
Yeah.
So he started in his industry, said, I'm not quite satisfied with everything that I'm seeing. I'm going to push harder.
Right.
And and now he's brought a lot of the great ideas in the business models in plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. He went to those conferences and things. And so I started listening to more of that kind of stuff. And I'm going, wow, there is better ways of doing things. And you don't even have to necessarily reinvent the wheel. You could take a lot of the best practices from multiple sources and put it into one system, and wow, now you're really firing on all cylinders, and then you actually have a true advantage in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. You're doing things with less effort, and you have a happier customer and happier team. You're always going to have an edge, because I feel like that's the hardest things to achieve in a company, and really knock it out of the park.
Yeah, that's encouraging. I think it's something that I've learned myself, even from transitioning from construction to software, construction software, still in the industry, where I have seen just a whole nother industry, how they do things. And there are things in software, agile processes and different things. It's like, man, I wish I would have known this when I was sitting at my desk, writing estimates or something. And I could completely revolutionize the way that I do my workflow, and it becomes so much more efficient and so much more. So I completely agree with your, assessment of looking outside of your specific industry to see how people are doing things, because why reinvent the wheel? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and it does take a bit of humility on the part of a business owner to say, okay, let's go somewhere else. Let's listen to other people. Let's glean. But I think that's achievable, because the whole goal is let's make more money. Let's do this better. Let's have less stressful lives, more time with our family. All of those things are things we can achieve from that. So, I know there's stuff we want to get to talk about, but let's talk a little bit about systems you've put in place that you've learned, that you've developed for your company, and how it's benefited. So tell us a little bit. We know what we're talking about, but performance-based payment with your guys. Talk to me a little bit about that. So,
yeah, when I was in California, the family business model was we were subcontractors, and we subcontract mostly through flooring stores and for general contractors. And I like that because I could work independent, and my work is my own business. You know what I mean? I am my own business. I'm not working for somebody. And I really like the flexibility and control that I had in that business model. But, and that's what my father had encouraged me to do. You know, get your contractor's license, and we'll all be independent contractors in the family business. And so after a good while in that, I started seeing a lot of the flaws in the subcontractor model. I was kind of preached that it was great because in that time it was either union or be an independent contractor, and if you're doing the work, you know, and the union, most people that were subcontractors didn't like the union model. They felt like, oh, I'm held back, and you know, I can't, you know, really, it's going to cap me basically, and that's what I was told. And so I never was a big fan of the union model, but I do respect the training and development that they have.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, why does it have to be one or the other? You know, because I saw a lot of the flaws in the subcontractor model. It's like Dustin, like what you were saying. Let's say you love you hire a subcontractor that's a plumber, right? He's a great guy, operates out of integrity, but he's working all day. How much time does he have to hire? He's probably struggling to find good help. You know, like everybody is, right? What type of person is he going to bring into that home of that, you know, where the there's a housewife, you know, and she's got the kids there, and she's getting a kitchen remodel. Yeah. You know, she's going to feel safe with who he brings in, and not to fault him. He's just trying to get help. He's probably good, and he probably gets a lot more business than he can handle. And sometimes schedules don't align, right? So he has got to find help, but that help may not be up to your standards or what you thought you were hiring that subcontractor for. And so, you know, I started noticing, and, you know, I was a high level contractor, so I felt like my reputation was better than the companies that I was at, like the flooring companies that I was subcontracting for. And I preferred to work with general contractors because I felt like I have more of a say. When you're subcontracting for a flooring store, they kind of want you to pretend like you're their employee. Right. And it was always just a weird, I'm my own business trying to get my own work, and I might bid on the same jobs that you're going to hire me for. It just got kind of a little funny. And so I preferred to subcontract more for like a general contractor. You know, but it really, all of that got me thinking, you know, what if we could get rid of all the downsides of the union, all the downsides of subcontracting, and as one company merge the best of all aspects, right? Yeah. Where you have good training, you have good development, you have a structured way to pay them based on performance. Yeah. Because that's what I loved. I mean, subcontracting is a pretty performance-based type pay. You're paid by the job, right? And you're expected a certain quality standard, you know, and I really like that about it. But like I said, I don't like losing the control. Knowing, you know, we teach our crew a bathroom etiquette. You know, how to introduce yourself to the customer. You can't do that with the subcontractor. So now that we're a retail flooring store, you know, and we want to grow, I have to decide, you know, it's really easy to hire a contractor just to take on these jobs, but then, you know, who are they bringing onto the job? What's going to happen? So we're trying to do as much in-house as we can and just hire the best subcontractors. If there's a real specialty thing, you know, maybe, you know, we're not really specialized in tile, but, you know, we brought in tile by customer demand, and, you know, I want to subcontract that out because I'm not an expert in doing showers and things like that. You know what I mean? But if we do enough tile, I want to have my own in-house crew for it. Right. Because I have all that
quality control and
exactly. I mean, almost to the point where I don't even want to hire. So I would rather just stay smaller.
Right.
And just, you know, build up my own in-house crew because, you know, now that we have a performance-based system, I can now, what really attracted me personally to subcontracting was it is a very, like I said, a very performance-based type pay system.
Yeah.
If I get really good and I could do that job twice as good with the quality of the next guy, guess what? I got paid twice as much as the next guy.
Right.
Because I can do 2 jobs in the same amount of time as they can do 1. And I've always been wired that way. Most in-house employees are paid by the hour. You lose all of that benefit. So somebody like me is not want to go on hourly based pay. That's not going to be attractive to me, because the guy next to me, like maybe I make more per hour, but it's hard to build a team that way, because you get a bunch of Lone Rangers, and really we're more effective as a team, because that way I can hire a technician and they only have to worry about doing a really good job and working with their coworkers, right? They don't have to go do estimates. They don't have to try to hire somebody. They don't, you know what I mean? They're not bogged down by anything else than just go do a good job. And that's what I love about the employee model. I love that you can train them, you have control of the process. You just give the client a way better experience. And so, my thought was, okay, if we can solve the pay problem by uncapping their pay them based on performance, but also have a system that encourages them to work as a team. That way they can leverage the power of the team. Because one thing I didn't like about subcontracting that I wanted to solve was, if I'm an independent contractor and I get sick, the client doesn't care that much.
Right.
They want to get the job done, right? And if I have a team of several crews, somebody gets sick, I could reshift the crews. You know what I mean? That way their job's getting done. I have more backing behind me, and that was nice about having the family business, is I could do that, but not so much because we're all independent. And then all of that, but we all have our own insurances, and there's so much duplication of effort, like in the subcontracting model, because it's like, and around here, it's hard to find people that even have insurance.
Yeah,
and so
that's true.
I don't want to leave my client, vulnerable, or maybe they have insurance, but they don't have workers' comp on their employees. I don't have to worry about that. And that always bothers me, because technically they are a separate company. They're responsible for themselves. But at the end of the day, if their helper, has a major injury, nobody wins. Nobody wins in that at all. Yeah. And it's been a challenge around here to operate that way. So my point is how do you take the best of all those worlds and put it into a system?
Yeah.
And that's what I've talked to you about, with the performance paid program, and with the NWFA, I did a master class called the Performance Technician Program. But it really, it's culture, it's uncapping their pay, it's giving them the freedom of a subcontractor, but within the structure of an in-house employee system. And, the more you think about it, if you are really good at strategy, you really can have your cake and eat it too. Yeah. Because you solve the problems as best you can. And our system's not 100% perfect, because we're dealing with people.
Right.
People aren't perfect. But what I would rather have is a system to address it. Because you're going to have certain problems, right? But if you're within a structure that has already solved problems, you at least now have a path where you're not running around, putting out fires.
Right. The way, the thing that I love most about it, probably, and if you're a business owner listening to this podcast, like, listen up, like, I guarantee you, if you pay your guys by the hour, you are probably struggling with incentivizing your people. There really is no, unless there is some sort of a bonus system or something that even potentially still has flaws, or maybe, like we were talking about, is subjective in some way, you're probably having trouble incentivizing your guys. And the system that you've developed and put in place in your company, it basically gives your guys all the incentive they need, because instead of their base pay, if they overperform, if they perform at a really high level on a consistent basis, they're going to just increase and increase and increase what they're getting paid, by the hour. And you win, they win, your company wins, because in all of this, everyone's all the cards are on the table. Everybody knows that that dude's a high performer, and I need to raise up to his level. Mm-hmm. Everybody is benefiting, and simultaneously, while everyone's benefiting, you're building in a really strong work culture in your company. So you've told me a little bit about like from implementing this company or implementing this system, like your first year, like what are the benefits that you saw? Like what did growth wise did you see? Like, cause, I want people to really catch a vision for like what this could do for their company. So tell us your experience of like, once you figured out how to do this, with this system, what benefits did you see?
When we first started the system, I felt like our quality standards are really high and our productivity standards are really low.
Okay.
And it bothered me because I like to get a lot done very well.
Yeah.
And we solved the getting it done well part. Getting it done well with efficiency was lacking. Mm-hmm. And the more I thought about it, I came from a family work culture where we valued quality real high, and I was essentially always on performance-based type pay, and being a subcontractor, and so I got it.
Right.
I understood it. When I moved to Texas, everybody that I brought in only knew hourly pay. So me being the subcontractor, I knew the numbers. I knew where we had to hit, time-wise, budget-wise, all of those things are in my head. And if I just have one or two employees, I can micromanage it to make it us win every time, right? When I came here and I started to try to do that and I grew too big to micromanage the jobs, the productivity just fell off.
Yeah, it tanked.
We didn't have a lot of problem with people milking the clock. Only some of the new ones, you know what I mean? Because you start realizing they usually don't last that long. And so we did have milk in the clock issues, which always hurt because you're like, you don't like it, right? Yeah. But you're trying to find help. And then I had, but my core group of people, I realized they didn't know. They don't know the numbers like I do. They don't know what's possible on the productivity side, of things. They don't have access to understand the job like I do. They're paid there to go do the job by the hour. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the more I realize it, I go, I don't think that they're trying to be ineffective. I'm not giving them the tools to help themselves, And part of the issue too is I implemented this around the pandemic when inflation was going crazy, and so. I mean, we're just trying to keep up with inflation costs, hoping that we don't end up losing something that we bid or lose money on something we bid a month ago because everything skyrocketed, right? Yeah. And I know that they need more money because their personal expenses are going up a lot.
Yeah.
And I was just, you're just afraid to pay them more and lose money, because I knew that our productivity was low. And so that's when I just said, you know what, I'm gonna create a metrics-based performance-based system so that I can pay them more because they earned it.
Right.
Because I know some of these jobs, I'll bet we could get done twice as fast if they had the buy-in to and understood the value that it would create for them.
Yeah.
Because, who cares about a 5% increase if we can boost productivity and get more done in the same time frame, and we have quality standards to make sure we're not just focusing on just that's why I call it efficiency.
Right, not just speed.
Speed usually costs you more money because you got to go back and fix it.
That's true.
It's not efficient, so that's what we focus on is efficiency for this metrics based bonus system. So they get an hourly base pay, so they're going to make that no matter what. The reason we did that is because no matter what state you're in, that will satisfy all labor laws. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you don't have to worry about, I'm, going to have labor department on me because, it can. Like, if you pay by the job, you're still supposed to track hours and all that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you're still supposed to pay overtime, even if you pay somebody by the job. Don't ask me how you do that. But,
right.
You know what I mean? To stay legal, right? And if you grow a bigger company, you can get a target on your back. Mm-hmm. And so, once I started looking in and doing research and got some advice, and hourly base pay is a great way to stay legal. So what we do is that's just a base pay. I usually like it to be about 2/3 of their total income, and then I like them to be about 1/3 performance pay. So what we basically do is we set a budget for a job like you would like a subcontractor.
Yeah.
So that's where I give them the value of being a subcontractor, but I satisfy all my laws by having the base pay. And what I realize is people love base pays. They have that consistency, right?
Yeah.
So I can treat them, like I can go have them work on the shop, and they just clock into the company and they work for their hourly rate. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then when I have them on a job, so it gives me flexibility of my team where they know they're getting paid for everything. When you're a subcontractor, you could do a job and lose money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They'll never have that. And they love getting that pay every single week.
Yeah. That
right?
security there,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Well, and just that process is your employees aren't going to get complacent, Mm-hmm. The more they kick butt and take names, they win, you win, mm-hmm. the customer wins because they agreed upon that price, and you guys did a killer job, and then on to the next one. So that's really cool.
So what has been your buy-in with your guys, like their feedback once you've implemented this and they can clearly see like the measurables and like the goals that are in front of them to be efficient and to be able to make more money? Like what's been the response?
Well, the biggest takeaway was the first year was rocky because we created the system and then implemented it. And I would have better advice on implementation nowadays. Yeah. But we just went for it. And even dialing in the structure and figuring it out as we went, we had a 30% gain in productivity without sacrificing quality. So basically, we grew about that much as a company. We grew about 30% that year. I didn't have to hire one extra technician.
Wow, that's impressive.
Oh, man, it was like, because we worked so hard to do it. And I really, I was looking for personal proof of concept. I'm very much so. I love ideas and I love, strategy. But to me, if I can't prove it to myself, then it's a fail. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if I can't prove it, and seeing the 30%, and it was really amazing how once we went metrics based, the team knew the goals of the company basically, because I'm setting their KPIs basically. Now they have something tangible to try to beat, you know what I mean? Because we're technically paying by the job, right? So now they're getting more stuff done. So I mean, to be able to do 30% more growth in the business without having to hire extra people, you know how hard it is to get and retain people.
Yeah. Right.
Having to, growing the business by 30% and keeping the quality up that's when I had total buy-in into the system. That second year, we just really dove into it and we got it dialed in. Yeah. Because, I don't want a system where they can game the system. And we really went in there and my crew had feedback too. Because the awesome part is I had really great buy-in to the company, especially when they saw they made 30% more.
Right.
Oh, yeah. They're getting excited.
Because we're based on metrics, right? So it's very scalable. So if we do 30% more as a business, now we're 30% more revenue that we're making that extra, amount of profit on. But they did 30% more too, so they got a 30% raise.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. We're not talking 5%.
Right.
To try to, say, oh, well, I'll give you an extra $1 or $2 an hour, letting them have the opportunity to go crush it.
Yeah.
I mean, now who cares about 5 or 10%?
It's essentially profit sharing. Yeah. I mean, it's a form of profit sharing, which is like just great. I mean, I think as an employer, I know you care about your guys, and to be able to create a system where you can share with them. Like, talk about like feeling like you're a part of a team. Like the company grew 30%, and then my family's income grew 30%. Like that's incredible. It's great.
Yeah, and it wasn't always easy. Yeah. I had really loyal employees that were very low productivity, but their heart was right. And I had another employee that we knew he was going to crush it on this system and one of the reasons we did it is because we just kind of figured out how to reward this guy. He's just outproducing everybody. He's not real social like some of the other guys are. And he just put his nose down and just get it done. Yeah. And it helped the lower performers that had all the other right qualities. It gave them a path. Yeah. Because I would say, let's team you up with him. You can see it's not magic. You know what I mean? If you can learn and duplicate what he's doing, you have other talents too. So, you know what I mean? We're not trying to completely duplicate you, but you're going to take your weak point is now going to be, you're going to be teamed up with somebody that's where they're strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And honestly, that crew member is weak in some of the other areas that the lower productivity guy is. Like, he didn't have the best bedside manner, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he's a little rough with other trades, and even some of the North Star guys at times, but it's given him the opportunity to improve as well.
For sure.
Being because they have different qualities, and we talk about that. And so it's just really nice to be able to not say, you're more productive, so I'm going to pay you more. It's like we all look at the numbers in the reports. So every month we give everybody a report of where everybody's at, and we just talk about, and it's really more self-improvement now at this point. Everybody knows that they have an opportunity. So everybody knows that if they want more money, we're going to talk about development.
Right. Yeah.
They know what they're, you know what I mean? It's not like I deserve more conversation anymore. It's literally like, man, I'm down. Like, let's figure this out.
And you're giving them the training and like tangible things to like make these changes, and this is how you can be more productive, more efficient. You're training your guys. That's super cool. So something that you've said is a desire of yours. Like, you've designed this whole system, and it's in spreadsheets, and it's still somewhat laborsome, but you've been successfully doing it for 3 years now. But you have a great desire for it to be in a software. You're just like, if this could be in a software, then it could really be like disseminated to other people, and it could be like usable. Because obviously not everyone can go and like create these formulas to figure out these different metrics and all that type of stuff. So now what Matt and I are doing. So Matt is teaming up with Timbersite, and the plan is, we're in the really early stages of it, but the plan is to take your kind of proprietary formulas and system that you've developed and proven over the last 3 years, and we're going to put it into Timbersite. And it's going to be now available in a software. So if you're listening and you're just thinking, that's what I want. And, I can't tell you how many times you've said to me, this is the way of the future. Like, hourly based pay is going to eventually just get taken away because it's a flawed system. And because the power of technology and software, and as it increases, like, these type of systems are going to be the way that people get paid in the future, because it's the best way. It's really the right way, and everybody wins. So if you're listening to this testimony of Matt and what he's done with his company and how he's paying his employees and treating his people, you're interested in that, take a look in the show notes or in the description, wherever you're watching. There's a link tree, and there's going to be a link there for you can go and actually fill out your information and get added onto a list where you're interested in, like, once we've built this feature, like, we want to contact you. If this is something that you want to implement into your company, we want to hear your feedback. We want to hear where you're at, and we want to let you know when it's ready. So that we can walk alongside you and partner with you to help you implement this into your company and hopefully grow your company by 30%, and grow your efficiency and grow a team and a culture that's going to be really good. So Matt, like, we're super excited to like partner with you. When I heard this story, I was blown away, just because it's like, man, like, this is it. Like, I haven't been the business owner. I haven't been in your shoes, but I've definitely been the employer, where I've been thinking, man, I wish there was a way I could just like kill it, and my employer knew that I was killing it. Instead of like basically self-reporting, hey, just so you know, like, I got this done a lot. It's like, well, that feels terrible.
It's a little awkward.
Like, did you notice I crushed it?
So anyways, we're excited about this. If you're interested in it, fill out that form. We want to build a really big interest list so that we can give this to a lot of different people, and just, it's going to help, I think, bring a lot of awareness of how to pay people. And if you're in the industry and you want to listen to Matt's masterclass, where can they find that masterclass?
Right now, that masterclass is in the National Wood Flooring Association University.
Okay.
So you have to be a member to have access to that.
Okay.
But, as we develop this out, I own the class, essentially, we adapted it for the association specifically, but, I want to, start, helping people understand and have more access to information. So right now, if you just search my name on the internet, you can find podcasts that I've been on. I've talked about it as we've been developing out. And, like I said, I've been really, looking for the right technology partner to get this out there, because it really is, we invested a ton into working out the kinks of the system, and our spreadsheets crunch more numbers than you would ever care to even create formulas for.
Yeah.
And the value of that is with being able to track time now digitally and project management softwares and things, we can take a system that is extremely complicated on the back end and make it very easy for the user to use.
Right.
So, then, with me being in the National Wood Flooring Association as a board member, I've volunteered to help my industry.
Yeah.
This is a lot bigger than, just my industry. This is the way of the future as far as pay goes. And one thing I will say, one of the reasons why these systems are not as widely known right now, we're very much on the early stage of people really wrapping their head around pay like this, is that in my opinion, the trades used to be a lot more closed off about sharing information, right?
Yeah.
I think now with podcasts and, motivational things and there's just a lot of information floating out there about, how to run a better business. What I've noticed is that there's mostly larger companies are already under the radar running these performance-based systems. And a company that I'm helping other companies implement this based off my spreadsheets that want this. And I had a guy that I've been helping out of Cincinnati, and the other day he calls me up and he goes, "Hey, I'm part of a networking group, and there's some real big dogs, construction industry wise here, doing hundreds of millions of dollars, in these networking groups." And he goes, "One of these guys just was telling me about a performance pay system that he paid $65,000 to get implemented into his company by, somebody that built them a custom one for their company." Right. And he goes, "Hey, can I, see how that works? 'Cause I'm implementing one, a buddy of mine created one and he's been helping me, learn how to use the sheets and everything." And he looked at it and he goes, "Oh my gosh," he called me to tell me that my sheet was better. My system was better than this one that they paid $65,000 for. And I was going, wow, and the more I've, reached out into other industries and talked to bigger companies, they're paying a lot of money to get performance-based systems. If you're a $100 million company, $64,000 is like, $64.
Right.
But, the goal of this is I really, I believe that, if I can help other people, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And you've seen my spreadsheets. I use my spreadsheets. There's no reason why this can't be accessible, to anybody. And because if we use the power of technology to make it easy to use and run, then everybody can benefit from it. If you're willing to put in the energy to build a good team and a culture, now you have this resource behind you. It's like we were talking earlier about if you listen to podcasts and people that are highly motivated running strong companies, they're all talking about culture. Mm-hmm. They're always talking about building a stronger team. They're talking about all of these great ideas. How many tools do you have to do that?
Right.
How much structured-based systems do you have that you can tap into that you don't have to start from scratch?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially a performance-based system. Because that we have found that takes a lot of strategy, a lot of understanding math,
right?
That the average person is not going to have enough time for. But if you can literally, set up your employees within a structure, then you just say, okay, this is how a self-guided way to do it.
Yeah.
Now you can have all the benefit of this, $65,000 custom-made system for your company. That's probably actually easier to run because a lot of those systems, they have a team of people in the office that are crunching the numbers for that system, right? Mm-hmm. And so now I think we're in a time and age, especially the more AI, development that comes out, where you can run it really high level without having to have a team of people and custom technology designed for your company.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's really as simple as with Timbersite, you're tracking your hours.
Yep.
According to your estimate by line item or cost code or whatever you want to call it. You have the metrics in the software because you've built out your estimate. Everybody knows what things are supposed to take: time, money, labor, materials. And then once your guys clock their time against those things, it's going to be calculated and it'll be, presented in a report and it'll say, pay your guy this, pay your hourly rate or pay your base rate or your performance-based rate. Yep. And the system's going to do all of that calculation for you.
Exactly.
So,
we're taking the numbers that are already there.
Right.
Or that should be there, right? To run your business professionally.
Yeah.
We're just taking that information and giving you opportunity.
Right.
And that's the best way. And the more I developed this out, I was going, I didn't want to generate all these custom numbers. I mean, I don't have teams of people in the office to run that. And honestly, I don't
mathematicians.
know if I want to. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And so when the spreadsheets really solve that problem for us, because now I don't have teams. We actually just ran it off of numbers you should have based off best practices for a construction company, right? And use those numbers that you already are working with, and then let the power of the technology tell you what give you reports basically. Yeah. Now you can run a performance-based system based off of the numbers you already generated.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, Matt, it was a thrill to have you on here. We're excited about partnering with you, Timbersite, and you, and then we're gonna have to have you on again. Because as we kind of walk down this road, as we start to develop, which over the next few months, we're really going to hop on this because we want to get this to people and in their hands and have them start benefiting from it. So, we'll have you back on. We'll keep talking about it. We'll keep kind of educating people, and we'll start to, we'll go down this road. So it was nice to hear your story. Hear how you grew up and how you got in the industry, and just thankful for another good contractor out there that's doing it the right way. So we appreciate the time, man.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great.
Absolutely. All right, we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Well, dude, that was great talking with Matt, and I'm really excited about the potential that's there with Matt and implementing some of those systems. So thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for listening. If you found this valuable, please share it. Share it with a friend. Everybody knows somebody in the industry. So share it with people, subscribe, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys, the listeners, and we want to just continue to grow and continue to provide value for you guys. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. You're gonna say it, aren't you?
Your voice cracked.
Oh, just barely.
It was noticeable though.